Imagine yourself in the middle of a storm, winds howling and thunder roaring around you. Amid this chaos, you see a tall and imposing tree swaying with the fury of the wind but never breaking. Having a strong mentality is like being that tree. It doesn't mean being immune to life storms, but having the ability to sway without breaking, to face challenges and still remain firm. Having a strong mentality means staying centered and balanced in the face of adversity. It's the ability to find calm amid chaos, to get back up after a fall, and keep moving forward. It's the ability to look within yourself and find strength where there was once fear. And above all, it means having compassion for yourself, recognizing that we are all human and imperfect, but also incredibly resilient. Today, I will share the story of a Buddhist monk and his followers and how they learned, through 3 powerful teachings, to develop a strong mentality. They faced highs and lows, built their resilience, and above all, discovered the true value of self-love and compassion. So, get ready for an exciting and transformative journey. In a small village nestled among serene mountains and tranquil rivers lived a wise Buddhist monk named Tenzin. Tenzin was known not only for his wisdom but for the peace that radiated from his presence. He had dedicated his life to teaching the ways of Buddhism and helping those who sought a stronger mind and a more compassionate heart. One day, a group of villagers, each with their own challenges and doubts, decided to seek Tenzin's guidance. There was Aya, a young mother struggling to balance family life and her personal dreams. Hiro, a merchant facing financial difficulties and feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. And May, an artist trapped in a cycle of self-criticism and insecurity. Upon arriving at the temple, Tenzin greeted them with a gentle smile and eyes that seemed to see through to their souls. Sitting in a circle around the monk, the followers shared their stories, hopes, and fears. Tenzin listened attentively, without judgment, absorbing each word as if it were a piece of a larger puzzle. After a long moment of reflective silence, Tenzin finally spoke. The journey to a strong mind is not easy, but it is deeply rewarding. You have already taken the first step by seeking help. Now let me guide you through 3 teachings that, if practiced with dedication, will transform your lives. With this, the followers felt a mix of hope and apprehension. They knew the journey would be challenging but were ready to learn and grow. Thus began the transformative journey of Aya, Hiro, May, and many others who sought the wisdom of monk Tenzin, each willing to discover the strength that lies within themselves. Sitting under the welcoming shade of an ancient tree, Tenzin's followers eagerly awaited the first teaching. The monk, with his calm and serene presence, began to speak about the importance of maintaining a stable mentality during life's highs and lows. Life is like a river, he began. Sometimes it flows smoothly, and other times it faces violent rapids. The secret to maintaining stability is accepting that both moments are part of the same river. Aya, the young mother, raised her hand timidly. But how can we stay stable when everything around us seems to be falling apart? She asked, her voice trembling with the anxiety that consumed her. Tenzin smiled understandingly. Aya, let me tell you the story of a young man named Kaito, he said, his words weaving an ancient tale. Kaito was a farmer who depended on his crops to survive. One year, a drought devastated his fields, and he found himself on the brink of ruin. Desperate, Kaito sought advice from a wise elder. The elder listened patiently and then handed Kaito a cup of water. "Hold this cup," said the elder, "and walk to the top of the hill without spilling a drop." Puzzled but obedient, Kaito did as he was told. Along the way, he stumbled over rocks and faced strong winds, but managed to protect the water. When Kaito returned, the elder smiled. "You see, Kaito, life is like this walk. There will be obstacles and opposing winds. But if you focus on keeping the cup full, your inner peace, you can get through any storm." Aya nodded, understanding the metaphor. So we must focus on maintaining our inner peace regardless of external chaos? Exactly, Tenzin replied. Stability comes from within. If you can keep calm and maintain mental clarity, You can navigate the highs and lows of life with more serenity. The followers absorbed these words, feeling a bit more strength and hope growing within them. They knew the practice would be challenging, but they were ready to try, inspired by Kaito's story and Tenzin's wisdom. The days passed, and Tenzin's teachings began to resonate deeply in the hearts of his followers. One day, as the golden sun painted the horizon, Tenzin gathered everyone in a circle around a campfire. The dancing flame reflected in the attentive eyes of the disciples, ready to receive the second teaching. Resilience, said Tenzin, is the ability to get up after each fall, to bend without breaking. It is the inner strength that allows us to face adversity and keep moving forward. Hiro, the merchant, felt a tightening in his chest. He had lost everything in a fire that destroyed his store and was struggling to rebuild. But Master, Hiro began, his voice choked with emotion. How can we find that strength when it feels like there's nothing left inside us? Tenzin looked deeply into Hiro's eyes, as if seeing his pain. Hiro, let me tell you the story of the bamboo and the oak, he said, his voice soft and comforting. In a forest, there was a robust oak tree and a flexible bamboo. The oak prided itself on its strength and rigidity, while the bamboo seemed fragile and insignificant. One day, a terrible storm struck the forest. The wind roared with such fury that the oak, despite its strength, was uprooted and fell. The bamboo, however, bent gracefully with the wind, bending but never breaking. When the storm passed, the bamboo stood tall again, intact. Tenzin paused, allowing the story to sink into the minds of his followers. Being resilient does not mean being inflexible. It means being able to adapt, to bend before life storms without losing your essence. It's finding strength in flexibility. Hiro moved, wiped away a tear that trickled down his face. So, even if I've lost everything, I can still rebuild if I find that flexibility within me? Yes, Hiro, Tenzin replied with an encouraging smile. Resilience is recognizing that although we may be knocked down, we have the ability to rise again, stronger and wiser. The followers felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The story of the bamboo and the oak resonated deeply, reminding them that true strength comes from the ability to adapt and persist, no matter how devastating the storms they face. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink when Tenzin gathered his followers for the next teaching. The atmosphere was serene, with a gentle breeze caressing their faces. The disciples, sitting in silence, were ready to absorb another valuable lesson. Today, Tenzin began, we will talk about the importance of self-love and compassion for oneself. Many of us are quick to show compassion to others, but often forget to direct that same kindness to ourselves. May, the artist who struggled with constant self-criticism, raised her hand timidly. Master, she said, her voice trembling. How can we learn to love and have compassion for ourselves when we are always judging ourselves and thinking we are never good enough? Tenzin looked at May with tenderness. May, let me share with you the story of a painter named Yuto, he began, his voice carrying the wisdom of centuries. Yuto was a talented painter but was his own harshest critic. He never thought his works were good enough and was always dissatisfied with his work. One day, in despair, he sought out an old sage who lived in the mountains. The sage, after hearing his concerns, handed him a mirror and said, "Look at yourself and tell me what you see." Reluctantly, Yuto looked into the mirror and began to list all his flaws. The sage interrupted and said, "Now look again and see the beauty that resides in you, the same beauty you bring to the world through your paintings." The sage continued, "Imagine you are your own dear friend. How would you treat this friend? Would you criticize him so harshly, or would you show compassion and encouragement? Self-love, May, is learning to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would give a dear friend." May, with tears in her eyes, began to understand. So, we must learn to see ourselves with gentle and loving eyes? Yes, Tenzin replied. Self-compassion is recognizing that we are all human, that we all make mistakes, and that we all deserve forgiveness and love. When you start treating yourself with the same compassion you show to others, you begin to heal and strengthen your spirit. The followers, touched by Yudo's story, felt a warmth in their hearts. They realized that true transformation begins with acceptance and love. For themselves, Tenzin's lesson resonated deeply, reminding them that self-compassion is an essential step in developing a strong and resilient mentality. The full moon shone in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the temple and its surroundings. The peace of the night was interrupted by the sounds of hurried footsteps and agitated voices. Something had happened in the village, something that would put all of Tenzin's teachings to the test. In the center of the village, a fire had started, spreading rapidly among the houses made of wood and straw. The flames danced fiercely, threatening to destroy everything in their path. The villagers, desperate, tried to extinguish the fire with buckets of water, but the situation seemed increasingly out of control. Aya, Hiro, and Mei ran to the temple, seeking guidance from Tenzin. "Master, we need your help. The fire is consuming our homes, our lives," Aya exclaimed, her voice choked with panic. Tenzin looked at his followers with surprising calm. "This is the moment to apply the teachings you have learned. Each of you possesses the strength and wisdom needed to face this crisis. Let us go to the village together, and while we work, remember the lessons on stability, resilience, and compassion." Upon arriving in the village, Tenzin organized the villagers into groups, each with a specific task. Aya, remembering the importance of staying calm amid chaos, led a group to form a bucket line, ensuring a constant flow of water to fight the flames. Despite her fear, she found an inner tranquility that helped her lead effectively. Hiro, inspired by the story of the bamboo and the oak, focused on finding flexible solutions. He realized that the surrounding structures could be used as barriers to contain the fire and, with the help of other villagers, began to tear down strategic walls to create a safe perimeter. His ability to adapt was crucial in controlling the fire's spread. Mei, still moved by the lesson on self-love and compassion, saw exhausted and discouraged villagers around her. She began to offer words of encouragement, reminding everyone of the strength they had within. "You are stronger than you think. Keep going, don't give up." Her words, filled with genuine compassion, gave new energy to those on the verge of collapse. As the night progressed, the flames began to yield to the coordinated efforts of the villagers, guided by Tenzin's teachings. The monk, observing his followers, felt deep pride. They had faced the storm, each showing the strength of a mind trained in stability, resilience, and compassion. When the fire was finally controlled, the villagers gathered around Tenzin and his followers, exhausted but relieved. The village had been saved, and with it, the hope and faith of its inhabitants. They had gone through a great trial and emerged stronger, united by teachings that were now not just words but lived experiences applied in a moment of true crisis. With the village still shrouded in smoke and the villagers recovering from the fire, Tenzin gathered his followers and the villagers for a reflection on what they had faced. Sitting around the campfire, the light of the flames danced on their tired but determined faces. Tenzin began to speak, his voice filled with serenity and wisdom. "Last night was a test for all of us," he said. "It was a moment when the teachings were not just words but actions that you put into practice. Each of you demonstrated incredible strength and resilience, and now it is time to reflect on what we have learned." Aya was the first to speak. "In the midst of the chaos, I remembered the master's words about keeping calm and stable. When I led the bucket line, I felt the inner peace that Tenzin always talked about. It helped us work together efficiently even when everything seemed lost." Hiro, still covered in soot, nodded. I remembered the story of the bamboo and the oak. Flexibility was the key to finding solutions when it seemed there was no hope. Adapting our strategies and using the structures as barriers is what allowed us to control the fire. Being flexible saved our lives and our homes. May, with shining eyes, shared her experience. During the crisis, I saw so many villagers disheartened and exhausted. I remembered the importance of compassion for oneself and others. My words of encouragement not only helped keep everyone moving, but also reminded me of my own strength. I learned that self-love and compassion are powerful tools in times of adversity. The villagers, inspired by the words of Tenzin's followers, began to share their own stories of courage and resilience during the fire. A sense of community and gratitude permeated the air as everyone recognized the collective strength that had kept them standing. Tenzin, observing with a serene smile, was pleased to see how his teachings had deeply rooted in each one. This crisis was a great test, but also a great lesson, he said. You applied the teachings of stability, resilience, and compassion in ways you never imagined possible. And this is just the beginning of a deeper transformation. The turning point in the crisis was not just overcoming the fire, but realizing that each person had within them the strength to face any adversity. They had transformed fear into courage, chaos into order, and pain into learning. Each follower and villager came out of this experience not only stronger but also more aware of the power of mind and spirit. The night deepened, but a new day was dawning in the hearts of those present. They knew that with Tenzin's teachings, they could face any storm life threw their way. With dawn, the village was covered by a mantle of renewed tranquility. The ashes of the fire were now a reminder of the collective strength and resilience the villagers had discovered in themselves. Around the temple, Tenzin's followers and the village inhabitants gathered to reflect on the journey they had traveled together. Tenzin stood before them, the soft morning light illuminating his serene face. Today, we will not only talk about what we faced, but about how it transformed us. He began, his voice echoing with wisdom and hope. Each challenge, each difficulty shapes us and makes us stronger. Aya was the first to share her transformation. Before, I was dominated by anxiety, always worried about the future and what might go wrong. But during the fire, I learned to maintain stability. I discovered an inner peace I never imagined I had. Now I feel stronger and capable of facing any challenge life brings me. Hero, with a tranquil smile, added, I used to see life rigidly, believing I needed to be unshakable to be strong. But I learned that true strength lies in flexibility, in being like the bamboo that bends but does not break. I found resilience in adapting to circumstances, and that completely changed my perspective. May, moved, shared her experience with compassion. I have always been my greatest critic, thinking I was never good enough. But by encouraging others during the crisis, I realized the importance of self-love and compassion for myself. Now I see myself with gentler eyes, and that gives me a strength I never had before. The villagers, inspired by the followers' stories, began to share their own experiences of transformation. A sense of unity and empowerment permeated the air as everyone recognized the strength they had discovered in themselves and each other. Tenzin, observing the transformation in each face, spoke with a warm smile. You have learned that a strong mentality is not something acquired overnight, but something cultivated through the practice of resilience and self-love. You faced adversity and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. The transformation was not just in overcoming the fire, but in the internal change each person experienced. They learned to value stability amid chaos, to find strength in flexibility, and to show compassion for themselves. The village, once just a physical place, was now also a symbol of resilience and unity. With the sun rising on the horizon, Tenzin looked at his followers and the villagers, feeling deep gratitude. Remember, the journey of life is full of challenges, but you have within you the strength to face them. Continue practicing these teachings, and you will find that there is no storm you cannot overcome. As everyone stood up, ready to rebuild the village and their lives, A new sense of hope and determination blossomed in their hearts. The journey had been difficult, but the transformation they experienced was the true reward. They knew that with the strength of their minds and hearts, they could face any challenge that came their way. Thank you for watching. Please give your like, subscribe, and activate notifications. Share this video with your friends and leave your comments below. We always bring inspiring stories with teachings for modern life. See you in the next video.